You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan England, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. AI. It's that buzzword right now that we're all hearing, we're all talking about, and some of us are even fearful of. Today's guest is going to break down the speed at which technology changes and how quickly we need to be ready to adapt to this so we don't get left behind. Let's just jump right in. Today's guest is Jeff Wald, author of a book called The End of Jobs, and a serial entrepreneur who is staying on top of this trend. Let's jump in. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Super excited to be here, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to cut right to it.
Jump in.
What's the myth that you're just going to shatter for our listeners today? That thing that they're holding on to or that they believe or that they're scared of that's not true?
AI and robotics are going to take a lot of jobs in the near term. Total myth, not happening.
Well, but I just read the news. That's what they said.
It is what they always say, man. History is full of that. The weaving loom going to take all the jobs. The ATM going to take all the jobs. The steam engine going to take all the jobs. Never happens.
Well, you put it out there. Unpack that for me. Help me understand that, because everything I read everywhere says, 2 million jobs are going to be gone this year and 20 million jobs are going to be gone by the end of the decade. And, we're all going to be looking for work because the computers are going to take over the world.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ryan. This is exactly why I wrote a book, right?
Okay.
Like, if we look at history, if we look at the actual data, and if we talk to HR leaders, the people actually making those workforce planning decisions at companies, you get a very, very different picture than the random journalist, random thought leader that likes to say, oh my gosh, all the jobs are going to go. Because, sensationalism sells headlines, sells papers. So that's what they do. It is just not accurate. Now, that being said, just because it's never happened before, it doesn't mean that it will always never happen. It is possible that this time it's different. I just don't see any reason why.
Well, and there's been some, if I think about it historically, there's been some impact to jobs.
Of course.
But it's never replaced an entire profession. Is that correct?
Look, are there professions that do get replaced tremendously? A huge percent of the jobs in that space go? Yes. But does it happen quickly? No. It takes time for first the technologies to mature, then the technologies to propagate, then the technologies to impact jobs, and then jobs to actually be displaced. It is a very, very, very long process. But, in history, we always see at the beginning of any technological revolution, and we're in the early stages of what some will call the fourth industrial revolution, you see the fear and the freak out phase. And we're still in that freak out phase.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our clients does, they're a reinforcing steel contractor. They build roadways. And sometimes they place rebar and it's just monotonous work. It's just back-breaking work. And somebody developed a robot 5-6 years ago to do this work. And my client brags about it. He loves this robot. It's the coolest robot. And people ask him all the time, well, this is replacing jobs. He's like, no. He goes, we have a labor shortage to start. This is taking on the work that people don't want to do anyways.
Correct.
And this thing was, I think he started working on it 6 years ago. This thing breaks all the time. Like, I'm not going to say who it is, but this thing breaks. Like, they have challenges, they have issues, they have operator issues. Like, it's not like they flip a switch and it just goes. Right. And I think that
machine will get better, though. It will get better.
Oh, yeah.
10 years from now, 15, might it actually start replacing a worker or two? Sure, without question. But you hit on a very, very important statement, right? Repetitive, high-volume tasks. That same thing over and over and over again, and you do it all the time. Those are the things that AI, robotics, automation replace over time. But just because they replace that task doesn't mean the job itself goes. Or if the job goes, it's not replaced by a different job, manning that machine, fixing that machine, integrating that machine into workflows. It is all incredibly, incredibly complicated.
Yeah, it gets me thinking about manufacturing. Manufacturing left the United States decades ago, and there's a push to bring it back. But
Well, let's use data though,
yeah,
right? So manufacturing left the United States. How many manufacturing jobs were lost over the last 40 years? So if we had 12 million people employed in manufacturing in 1980, which we did, how many people are employed in manufacturing today?
no idea.
12 million.
Okay.
Were manufacturing jobs lost? Of course they were. When we look at the displacement from China, Mexico, other low-sourced or low-income countries, you might say about 1 million workers out of the United States workforce that could be in manufacturing today are not. Okay? When we look at automation and robots taking jobs, now you see a $2 to $3 million number, right? Many, many more jobs were displaced by automation than they were with factories moving overseas. That said, it is certainly a very, very positive trend, this reshoring trend. But well, as the percent of the labor force in manufacturing has continued to decline, the number of jobs has actually stayed exactly the same over the last 40 years. So while 12 million is a much smaller percentage of the labor force today, we still have 12 million people in manufacturing, and we produce, by the way, about twice as much from a goods output standpoint. Because people are more productive, because machines are doing more and more of that work.
Yeah, and what I was thinking was we've got chip manufacturers that are starting to build in the US again. And I have some clients that are building these huge factories and warehouses. And
amazing stuff.
They're talking about the fact that there's not a skilled workforce here to help prepare this equipment and to run these machines. And so they're having to go overseas to train the people to bring them back because we haven't kept up with the automation. We haven't kept up with the things that are happening out there in the manufacturing space. And so we're creating a whole new set of jobs, but at a higher skill level than what they used to be.
Very higher skilled, which will require a whole other type of training. But when we look at the impact that new technologies have in the labor market, it's almost never that they destroy net jobs. We always end up with more jobs. But do we have the right people to take those jobs? Are we training people? The issue is the displacement that occurs. Because I'll tell you this, there are 3 almost uninterrupted trends since the beginning of the word job, which is only about 200 years old. Okay. Over the last 200 years, we have produced almost every single year more jobs at a higher standard of living, and people work fewer hours. Those are 3 almost uninterrupted trends over the last 200 years. Wow. Is it suddenly going to change? I mean, it's possible, but I just don't see any data that tells me that it will.
Got it. Yeah, a lot of people, we talk about AI and we talk about automation. We talk about these things that are happening. And I mean, ChatGPT in the last year has made a ton of news, but they've been working on that thing for a long time.
Very long time.
And they're starting to talk about all these areas where automation happens. One of them that's near and dear to my heart is they talk to job seekers. Hey, the reason you can't get a job is because AI is screening your resume. That's been happening for 20 years.
That it has.
But now it's something that's easy to talk about. And what's happening today is what's been happening for 20 years. It's not like there was this sudden shift and all of a sudden the AI bots were going out and looking at your social media and doing all this other stuff. It's the same thing that's been happening for 20 years. It's not. And
these changes do take a tremendous amount of time. Yeah. Look, the example I love to talk about, you'll feel free to tell me if you don't want to talk about this, but the ATM.
Yeah.
What does the ATM stand for?
Isn't it automated teller machine?
That's exactly correct. Especially for anyone that says ATM machine, stop saying that. It's ATM is automated teller machine. So stop saying ATM machine. That's crazy. The ATM was first invented September 2nd, 1969 the first ATM was installed. Rockville Center, New York, Citibank. 25 years it took for the ATM to appear in every bank branch in the United States of America. 1995, that's when that occurs. In 1995, there were 500,000 bank tellers. That ATM, it's not disguising what it's trying to be. It's a machine that automates the job of the teller. It's an automated teller machine. That's what it's doing. And what do you think everybody said in 1995?
No more
about
tellers.
The job of the tellers.
No more.
Now, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to keep putting you on the spot with quizzes here. How many bank tellers are employed in the United States today?
I have no idea.
600,000.
Wow.
There are 100,000 more bank tellers than there were. 20% increase. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Like, we can dive deep into it. It would probably take 20, 30 minutes to really kind of understand it. But like, the average number of tellers per branch, by the way, did decline from 21 down to 13. But the number of bank branches almost doubled in the United States. And so the point of the whole story, by the way, is that any simple explanation that your listeners hear, this new tech exists, therefore that job's going to go, belay the mass complexity that goes into actual labor resource planning. And so we just should be thoughtful and say, all right, this new tech is coming on. What does it mean? How will it get deployed? How quickly? What slow and steady impact will it have on jobs? Because it will not be, oh my God, this new tech exists, all those jobs are gone next year. 100% will not happen.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the ATM, and I'm sitting here thinking about some of the stuff that's important to me. 30 years ago, I had to drive to get to a bank, and I'm a matter of convenience now. Like, I want things. So more bank branches is more convenient for me, which we got to put people in them. But then I think too, I don't carry a lot of cash around anymore.
Agreed.
But so when I do go to a bank, I need a person to help me solve a problem. Because if I could use a computer, I'd just do it online.
I just use my mobile, boop, 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 done.
Yeah.
Deposit a check, take a picture of it, deposited.
So I'd
when
imagine
you actually walk in, you need a person.
And so I'd imagine the skill level of those extra 20% of tellers has gone up over the last 30 years.
Very much so. So what do the tellers used to do? Their primary function, taking in cash, giving out cash. The machine can do that, or we can use digital cash and do everything that way. So now what does the teller do? They're out from behind the glass. They've got an iPad. They say, Ryan, welcome back. It's nice to see you. Can we talk to you about a mortgage? Can we talk to you about an auto loan? How about some of our investment products? They're upselling you. They're doing deep client engagement. That is a skill shift. Could every teller make that shift? No, they could not.
Yeah.
Did some tellers lose their job because the ATM existed? Of course they did. Right? But are we better off as an economy with people doing higher valued tasks, with people stopping doing that back-breaking, repetitive, high-volume tasks? Absolutely.
So that leads me to a question then. So you're saying that we don't need to worry about AI. It's not going to replace jobs today. It's not just going to flip a switch and robots are making robots and we're not needed anymore. So can we just sit by and wait? Or do we need to stay up with the trends? Do we need to continue to level up the skill set of our team, teach them how to incorporate some of these new technologies into their role? Like, what's that answer?
Look, the answer to that is always going to be yes. Right? Should we always be reading about what's going on in our industry, what advances are taking place? The answer to that question is always, always, always yes. But should we be thoughtful? Do we rush out and go buy that new machine? No, not necessarily, right? Do we see what our competitors are doing? Do we talk? Do we listen to podcasts? Do we go to industry conventions and trade shows? And we hear what the new things are, and we take into account and we think about our workforce, our clients, our competitive dynamic, and then we take the appropriate action over time. Right? We don't go mortgage the house so we can buy some new machine, because if we don't, we're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
That's just not, again, can't say ever, but it is highly unlikely that all of a sudden all your competitors are going to have some, you're going to be out of business. That's just not the way things happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I hear you say that, what I'm hearing is it's less of a macro thing and a little bit more of a micro thing. Like we need to focus on my skill set. We need to focus on my knowledge. Don't worry about the industry. Don't worry about the big changes that are happening out there because they're going to take time, 25 years to have an ATM or what was it?
25
25
years
to,
for the ATM to fully show itself.
yeah. And so those things are going to take time. But if I want to be kept up and I want to stay competitive, I probably should be starting talking about an ATM machine in the 70s,
Yeah.
just so that I'm
Look, should you
aware of
be
it.
aware of the macro trends, but
Yeah.
be very focused on your micro dynamic and the places and what your workforce is doing today?
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, in the marketing space, do recruiting, which is a lot of marketing. And I find that some of these new bots help with the AI stuff, helps with some research. It
Hmm.
helps with getting creative. Like if I'm in a creative funk and I need some help how to say something a little different, the bots are there to help me. But I've asked it to write something for me from scratch.
Probably wasn't great.
It was awful. I didn't even know how to fix it. Uh, and I see
It
that
will
now
get
with
better. It will definitively get better,
sure.
right? But
Yeah.
it'll take 5 years, 10 years, and then you'll start to see some real impacts in those industries and jobs. But
Yeah.
by that time, we should be able to retrain workers. We should be able to help those
Mm.
whose jobs are impacted to the point of job loss, and that will occur. I don't want to make any mistakes about that. That will occur in a number of industries and a number of job functions. It just doesn't happen overnight. You need to be aware of it, and you need to plan accordingly for what's best for your business in your location, in your competitive environment.
So just so I make sure I heard this right. So just like we are in the habit of retooling our equipment as new, better equipment that lasts longer, that's more efficient comes out, we need to be making sure that we're retooling our workforce and we're giving them the skills and we're supporting them and being able to stay up with these technologies, even though it might be a decade away. We still need to stay on top of the trend so that in a decade we're not just getting started and going, well, now I don't even know how to catch up.
It's very well said because look, the overriding story in the labor market right now is not AI taking jobs. It is not foreign displacement of jobs. It is not automation and robotics. It is a labor shortage that
Mm.
we have in the United States of America. That labor shortage is now a structural problem. It is a 20-year problem. Unless we want to magically change our immigration policy, unless we want to magically create a bunch of 18 to 24-year-olds that are about to enter the workforce, neither of which is going to happen. We have a supply and demand imbalance. There are too many jobs, not enough workers. That is the story in the labor market today, and that'll be the story for the next 20 years.
Would argue that that's been the story for the last 20 years too.
Fair enough.
I found a journal article. I forget what journal it was, but it was in the 60s, and it was about typists and how there was a labor shortage with typists. It was a manual labor job. There was a labor shortage, and at the time, it was, hey, you got to start opening these jobs up to other people. I mean, this was back when we still had segregation and everything else, and there was labor shortage then, 50 years ago.
I tell you, you point to any industry, any geography, there's a labor shortage somewhere throughout history, and we can find it.
Yeah.
Right now, it is a very pervasive problem.
Yeah. So I think that to me, the big takeaway for this, and this is what I want our listeners to hear, is that you don't have to freak out, you don't have to panic, but you gotta make sure you stay relevant. You got to make sure you stay on top of the trends and the changes. Make sure that you engage your workforce to stay on top of these as well, because you will get left behind if you don't.
It is funny when people ask me, what is the number one takeaway of your book? It's don't freak out. Be thoughtful. Look at history, look at data, look at what the actual practitioners are doing. And if we do those things, then we don't have a crystal ball, but we have a logical, reasonable, and defensible way of predicting what is going to happen in the labor force.
Love it. Well, hey, Jeff, tell us title of the book, how they can get the book, how they can learn more about the book, and if they want to learn more about you, how they can get a hold of you.
Well, appreciating everything we just said, the title of the book is The End of Jobs, but not because jobs are going. It's because of the changes occurring, like the 9 to 5, one office, one manager job. That job is ending.
Yeah.
And so that is why we call the book event The End of Jobs. And because, that's what my publisher liked, because it's, sensational and it gets headlines.
Yeah.
Helped us sell a lot of books. So I won't argue with it. And you can always find everything about me at jeffwald.com. I bought it about 25 years ago. It took me about 25 years to actually put material up on it. But one of the things you learn when you write a book is you need a place to send people. Yep. And so everything that you need to know about me and about the book is up at jeffwald.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, great. I really enjoyed the conversation today. It got me thinking about stuff. And I just love that there are people like you out there that are not sensationalizing AI and making it this thing to be scared of. And it's like, really, let's just look at history and what's happened. And we'll all get through this together. We just can't freak out.
We always do.
I love it. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan England here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.